back on MorningLine. Our guest is the great Allison Fields. I love her. We go way back. And
Me too.
She's a good egg. She's a veterinarian, and we're taking your calls at 737-7587. And next up, Jewel. Hello, Jewel. Top of the morning to you, Jewel. Here comes. Are you there, Jewel? He just left one line and we lost him. There we are. Top of the morning to you, Jewel.
Oh, on my phone, it's kind of messing up on me. It's good to see Miss Fields back. Welcome back there, Buckaroo. Glad you're on the job.
Buckaroo. She's here. What's on your mind, buddy? How are your cats?
Oh, they're pretty. A friend of mine's taken off a number of them to a no-kill shelter, so that's helped tremendously.
Great.
I have an article for y'all. I'll send you both a copy. It's an article I cut out of a Grit newspaper. I don't know if y'all remember them or not. G-R-I-T. Anyway, it is all about how the saying came about, a dog is a man's best friend. And it's very interesting, and the reading in it, it'll bring a tear to a glass eye. And I thought Miss Fields would enjoy having a copy of that. And I also wrote a poem. It's far too long for me to read to you. It's every bit of 5 minutes or so. But it's called I'm Just a Little Puppy. And when I lived down there in that van on the corner of 5th and Broad all them years, Huzzy had puppies. Huzzy made Fuzzy Britches, my dog. I did get her fixed. But they all got good homes, and I wrote this poem. It's about how the dog wants to be looked after. It's through the eyes of a little puppy, and it's instructions to the master.
Yeah,
Thank
sweet.
you for taking my call.
Sure.
We love y'all. Have a
good
beautiful
day.
Happy 4th of July.
You too.
Buckaroo.
You too, Jewel. I mean, Jewel is an interesting guy.
Right?
I have an image, you know, and we do this TV show, and you get to see us, and I've had the rare opportunity to meet a few of the callers.
Right.
And I'm trying to envision what Jewel looks like. I have an image in my head of a dignified man who walks around and is smiling all the time and
Glasses
is friendly to
perched
everyone.
on the end of his nose.
Perhaps so. Glasses. I don't know if we're on base on that, Jewel, but an animal lover and a real thoughtful person.
Yeah.
I always like hearing from Jewel. Let's go next to Mike. Mike, good morning.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, what's on your mind?
I have a Pomeranian that's been diagnosed with a heart murmur.
Okay.
And all they done was just listen to her heart and her lungs, and then they told me that's what she had. I was just wondering, how do you really tell for sure?
Well, you can hear a heart murmur with a stethoscope. So as a doctor, we're trained to listen to the heart and listen to the different beats of the heart. And if there's a heart murmur, we can hear it. We grade heart murmurs on a scale of 1 to 6, 6 being the worst, 1 being the least. And, you know, if this is a new problem and it was a mild heart murmur, they probably may say, we'll check it again next year and see where we are. If it's a more advanced heart murmur, a lot of times we'll recommend having an ultrasound done of the heart so we can see exactly what is the cause of the heart murmur and if there's anything we can do to slow down the progression of it.
Is a murmur just an irregular beat, or what is a murmur?
A murmur is, so in your heart you have valves that meet very tightly and stop the flow of blood. So when you listen to your own heartbeat, you hear that thunk thunk. It's very clear. But if the valves aren't working appropriately and there's like a little gap in them or there's problems with them, then instead of stopping the beat, we hear a whoosh.
I got you.
So it's like a whoosh whoosh instead of a thump thump.
Is that leaking blood kind of through the gap?
Yes.
It's not as sealed?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it's not stopping it and then moving it on.
All right.
So we can hear heart murmurs. You can hear heart murmurs in people. I mean, that's how you diagnose them, is by listening. And so we just need to either continue to monitor them Or we can do an ultrasound of the heart and see whether it's due to different causes of it. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons you can have it. So we can't ever really fix a heart murmur. But what we can do is we can slow down the progression. If it's because our heart isn't working appropriately, then we can give medications to help the heart work better.
Okay.
And maybe instead of going from a 2 to a 6 in a year, we could go from a 2 to a 6 in 5 years. So we can slow down the progression of heart murmurs.
That's good. I'm glad he asked that question. You know, Mash Tater is our old rescue pup that we have, and she, we were told, has a murmur, which I think is at a 2 right now. And she's very old, and our veterinarian has said, basically, we'll monitor it, and if it shifts to a 3 or something, I think they might be ready. I'm just thinking, Mash Tater is a small, you know, half Maltese, half Yorkie. I mean, her heart must be the size of a... What?
It's probably about that big.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm just thinking, that's a poor little gentle thing. And she's just a tiny little dog anyway, and she's older. Do murmurs sometimes develop in older dogs, or it's not really age-related, though, is it? Or?
Yeah, it can be. But the other thing that happens with small breed dogs specifically is if this is why your vet is constantly saying, we need to clean these teeth, we need to clean these teeth. If they get really bad dental disease, that bacteria can get into the bloodstream, goes through the bloodstream, and really the only thing for it to cling onto are heart valves, because it's just pipes everywhere else. And so they can get these vegetative lesions. So instead of meeting like this, they're meeting like this, because they have all these little growths of bacteria on their valves. And so when your vet says, and this happens mainly in small breed dogs, we can't figure out why it doesn't happen in large breed dogs, but if they're saying we've really got to clean these teeth are really bad, this could cause heart problems down the road, a lot of people look at us and they're like, what are you talking about? And it turns out this is why. And so once that happens, a lot of times we can't clear it up. And so we've damaged the heart by having bad teeth. For the same reason that a lot of dentists, when you have elderly people go in to get their teeth cleaned, they put them on a round of antibiotics beforehand. That's why.
So no bacteria gets in the bloodstream.
They don't want to dislodge all this bacteria, have it land in their heart, and cause heart problems.
I'd always heard that and never understood why or how. I knew it did happen.
You were going to the vet that explains it every day.
That is a great explanation that it creates that. And I would bet that's the thing. Small dogs. Mash Tater, when we rescued her at that point, most of her teeth were gone. We had the rest of them removed because they were not healthy or anything. And that may be part of what her problem was.
It could be.
She has no teeth in her mouth now. And as you said,
she eats dry food.
Put some kibble down. I go, really? Yep.
What does she do? She eats it.
Just fine. All right, let's go. You're so good.
Thanks.
Let's go to Ethel. Hi, Ethel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask the vet a question. Maybe she can help me out. I have a serious problem up here. Okay, my brother lived with me. He passed away, and he had a dog. Okay, I went to an animal control and tried to get them to take the dog because I couldn't afford to take her. I mean, to keep her up. So they told me that they would donate the food and all, but I can't afford to get her shots. I mean, they do give me the food to feed them, but I can't afford to give her shots. And I was wondering if you could maybe tell me somebody that could to help me out with this, because I really want to keep the dog.
Well, one of the things that you can do, and I really appreciate the fact that you're trying to keep him. I know that.
And keep in mind, she didn't go get this dog herself. This is one she inherited from her brother, and she's like wants to do what's best.
I think a lot of times people think that when you go to the vet, you have to get all of their shots all right then, and you don't. You can go in and get a rabies shot. That's the one that's required by law. You can go do that and just get that shot. And then next month you can go get a different shot. And so go talk to the vet and just explain the situation and say, I want to do right by this dog. I can't do it all at once. I can afford, you know, to do a little bit here and a little bit there. And that a lot of times really makes a difference. So if you go in this month and you get a rabies shot, you go in next month and you get their distemper shot, and then you go in the next month and get a heartworm test and some heartworm prevention. And if you break it down, I think it might be a whole lot more manageable than going in, you know, all of it at the same time, which is what I recommend to people. You know, they come in and they say, I really want to do right by my dog, but right now, here's my financial situation, and I can't do all of this. I'm like, great, you don't have to. Let's start and just work our way down the list, and once a month you come in and we'll just knock one thing off the list. So I think that you may be able to afford it if you break it down into smaller pieces.
That's a great way to go about doing it, because what you're dealing with here is preventative most of the time.
Right.
This is not a dog that has an acute issue that needs to be dealt with. Meaning that if you don't get that right off the bat, it doesn't mean your dog's going to get sick or die right there on the spot. It means maybe, you know, you don't have the preventative shield there that you'd like, but it doesn't mean if you care for them properly, they're not going to be fine a month later.
Right. So just, you know, little bits at a time. And, you know, I understand everybody's living on, you know, a set amount of money that they get from their job, from their retirement, whatever. And we have to figure it out in the budget.
And is it true some vets, I don't know if all, sometimes will, maybe if you have a more higher bill, arrange a payment plan? Can you ever do that?
I would tell you right now that there are no vets left in town that do that.
They don't do that. Like if you have a $100 bill and they say, I don't know if that
how many veterinarians and the millions of dollars just in Nashville, Tennessee, of people who say, I promise I'll pay, and they don't.
And they don't.
And they ruin it for everybody. I mean,
oh no, that's, you know, it's not just vets that are like that nowadays, unless you have some means to hold them accountable. I have a bunch of people that I know who are lawyers that have been told, well, when this is all done, I'll pay you. And then, they may not, and then when it's over, they don't. And so I understand why that is. It's almost human nature sometimes.
We're a small business. We have to pay our staff. We have to pay the light bill. We have to have the blood work machines so that the lady who called and her cat had blood work, that we can run the blood work. We have to have, you know, there's a lot of overhead, and we want to help everybody. And 20 years ago, we would say, yeah, sure, absolutely, you'll come pay us. And, you know, tens of thousands of dollars later, in every vet clinic in Nashville, it's a lot of money.
I agree.
There are things like Care Credit. Care Credit is a great program. It is a credit card. You can apply for it online, and they, depending on how much you are needing it for, you get a specific amount of time that is interest-free. It's kind of like when you go buy a new mattress. Hey, if you sign up for our credit card, you get 5 years interest-free.
I just did that.
Right. Well, they make it for healthcare, and doctors take it. Human doctors, podiatrists, dentists, places that aren't covered on insurance, or what they do is not covered on insurance, take Care Credit. And you have anywhere from 6 months to, you know, a year, sometimes longer, depending on your provider, depending on what you're doing, to pay it off interest-free. Now, you know about this mattress credit card, that if you don't pay it off by the end of the time they have been accumulating interest for the whole 5 years, you get hit in the chops, and it's a huge.
You better pay that sucker.
But if you can be disciplined and pay it off over the 6 months, 9 months, whatever it is, it's a great, it's instead of owing us the money, you owe them the money, and they'll come get you, and we don't have to become bill collectors.
Good you mentioned that.
But we accept that. Lots of veterinarians accept Care Credit.
What's it called again? Care Credit. Care Credit. Look into it. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, we've got others on hold, Amy, Susan, Teresa, and more. Stay there. We'll get you in our final segment with the vet right after this.